Of our SQL Live training sessions. Today, we're going to be covering common table expressions. We're going to be covering window functions. There's going to be lead. There's going to be lag. There's going to be all sorts of interesting window function stuff that we're going to be talking about today as well. It should be a very good and informative session today. I'm really excited to teach y'all about all of this stuff. Why do we cover this in this session today and on this live? Well, one, window functions are going to be one of the most important things to cover in data engineering interviews. I feel like in my career, I've probably done like 30 or 40 data engineering interviews, and window functions have showed up in every single one, 100% of the time, without fail. They have shown up in every single SQL interview that I have ever had. So hopefully this can build up your confidence in how window functions work. And we're going to actually tackle a pretty hairy window function problem in the lab section of today's session. But we're going to be going over a presentation first to kind of just go over things and kind of show you guys some good looking slides. So let's, without further ado here, let's make a transition over into the slide section of today's lab, or today's presentation. So we're going to transition here into kind of more of this, right? So we're going to be talking about window functions today, common table expressions, all sorts of very important and valuable information that you will be able to hopefully take away a lot of things here and build more confidence in your SQL abilities as you step through data engineering, data analytics, whatever type of interview you're trying to do where you have to, write SQL in front of people. This is going to be a very, very good place for you to be. So thank you for making the decision of trusting me with your time today. So what we're going to cover today is really, we're going to break it into three things here. What is a window function? What is a common table expression? What are the common use cases of window functions? Don't worry if this feels too rudimentary for y'all. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty details as well. So hopefully we can span all the way from the basics all the way down to some of the nitty-gritty details around how some of these things work. So I'm really excited to get into that with y'all. So window function. Window function is significantly different from a lot of the other types of functions in SQL in the fact that you need to be aware of what the other rows are. So a window function is a function that is aware of the rows surrounding it. So in this case, you might have window functions like lag. Lag is like give me the previous row, or lead is like give me the next row. You can also have sum over a window. So keeping in mind, the big thing to remember here about window functions is you're going to be defining a window and then doing some sort of operation on it. It's a really, if that's too high level, don't worry, we're going to dig much more deeply into this concept. So window functions are commonly linked with the following English expressions. We have rolling. So these are the key words that when you're in a SQL interview, these are the words that you should be thinking, oh, I need to use a window function. If you hear the word rolling, you hear the word rank, you hear the word consecutive, you hear the word deduplicate. Those are very, very common words that should tip you off like, hey, I should use a window function here. And these are going to be all the time, right? Like, for example, one of the common kind of notorious SQL questions out there is give me the second highest salary by department. It's a very common question. I've gotten that question probably like 3 or 4 times in my own freaking interviewing processes. And the keyword there that tips you off that it should be a window function is that word second. So sometimes they don't explicitly say rank in the interviews, but they might say an ordinal term, like give me the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, something that says like gold, or like bronze, silver, gold, something like that, that is saying, okay, I am ranking things and I need to understand how these ranks work. So that's going to be kind of what's going to tip you off to say like, hey, this is what we need to be doing. And because a lot of times in SQL interviews, you might not know if you need to use a window function or a self join or like a regular aggregation or whatever. But for these keywords, rolling rank, consecutive, deduplicate, almost always deduplicate's the one where you can kind of get away with using just a group by some of the time. A lot of the times with deduplication, you need to use row number and cut it up that way. So we'll go a little bit more deep into this because we obviously are covering window functions today. So a window, when you are doing a window function, how it works is you have a function name, might be like sum or count or rank or dense rank or row number or whatever, all of those different window functions. And then there's an over. You have to write the word over. Without over, it's not a window function because over is what defines the window. And interestingly enough, you can actually do over with nothing, right? And we are going to go over what that means in the lab here in a bit, where if you do over and you don't put anything inside, what that actually means. But generally speaking, when you are defining your over clause, you have 3 keywords that you can use: partition by, order by, and rows. Those are going to be the 3 different keywords that you can put inside the window. And this is going to help you kind of slice and dice and change your window up so that you can solve the very specific problem that you're looking for. So in the case of that notorious like second highest salary problem, in that case, you're going to be doing rank, right? And then over, and then it's partitioned by because it's the second highest salary by department. So in that case, you're going to probably partition by department name or department ID, and then you're going to order by salary. And then you don't use rows at all. That's going to be the way that you define and set up your window so that you can actually get things working. So if you can understand these 3 fundamental components of window functions, you will be able to get through a lot of your SQL interviews because these are powerful, right? So one of the things I want to talk about real quick is the rows clause is actually pretty rare. I think it probably is in like I probably use it when I'm using a window function. I probably use the rows clause like 1 in 10. 1 in 10 times I use the rows clause. Rows specifically is for those rolling questions when they're like, give me the 30-day rolling average of a value or something like that. And we're going to be going over what that looks like in the lab today as well. So that should be good. Make sure to make a dataexpert.io account so that you can be ready to go. And you see that link where you go to dataexpert.io/classroom/Zach Wilson so that you can follow along as we write these queries. Should be a good time. So window expression example. I'm just going to give a very, very specific example. So this is going back to where we are going to use every single part of the partition by, order by, rows. So in this case, this query, like if you see, we're going to be doing sum. So this is going to be a rolling sum. The way that you can tell the tip off that it's a rolling sum is you see that rows between 29 preceding and current row. So that's going to mean that you're going to have 30 rows, right? You're going to have the 29 rows before and the current row. And if there isn't 29 rows before, it will just get as many as it can, right? So if you're at the beginning of your data set, say it's the first day, then you don't have that data, right? And then this will just have maybe 1 day of data instead of 30 because there's no preceding rows because you're at the beginning of the window. And that's very common where like in a window function, if you use like lag, if you use lag and you're at the very beginning of the order by, then that the lag will be undefined because of the fact that there is no data because there's no data before the window because we're at the beginning of the window. So that is a very common thing that can happen. But in this case, what we want to think about is this is going to be monthly rolling department revenue. And the things that tip that off, right, is we're going to be summing revenue and we're doing it over, we're partitioning by department. And that's going to be like how we're slicing up the data. And then we're going to be ordering by sales date. So that will give us the right order in which we are ordering our data so we know it's the right the right preceding 30 rows. Because without that, if you don't put the order by there, it will just give you like whatever the natural data ordering is in the data set based on how it's inserted, which might be right, it might be wrong. So it's very important whenever you're writing a window function, you almost always need to put partition by and order by. Rows is not quite as important as the other ones. So this kind of query is oftentimes the answer to your SQL interview woes, whatever you're doing in SQL interviews. Here, one sec. I need to turn this up just a little bit there. I think I was a little bit quiet. So anyways, what we're going to be doing here is we're just going to keep stepping through here. I've covered quite a bit about window functions. We will be doing a lot more applied stuff here in just a little bit, but we want to cover more in this presentation as well. So what is a common table expression? So common table expressions are another very, very powerful, useful thing, both in SQL interviews and on the job. So a common table expression is you use the with keyword. With is the keyword that you want to rock with when you're using it when doing a common table expression. And keeping in mind that common table expressions are shorthand, they are called CTEs. And in industry, we almost never say common table expression because that's just a lot of syllables. That's just a lot like blah, 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 right? Don't want to say that. So we just say CTEs. So CTEs are great because they make your queries a lot more readable. We are going to see that in the lab today because we're going to be using a lot of CTEs in the lab. And you can also do cool things like recursion with them, and recursive CTEs are really cool. So, but they're not always better. There are certain circumstances where CTEs are going to be worse. In particular, CTEs are not as good when you are in transactional systems. Like I found in my experience when I've been working with CTEs, specifically MySQL is not as good with CTEs as other database engines are. So if you're working with like an OLTP database, you might want to consider using subqueries instead of CTEs. But if you are like, for example, if you're in the data lake, if you're using Spark, if you're using Trino, if you're using BigQuery, if you're using Snowflake, if you're using any like big data tooling, you better be using a CTE. Otherwise, you're going to be making me sad. And you don't want to make Zach sad because that's exactly the problem with the world sometimes, you know, like if you make me sad and you write all these terrible trash subqueries, like that's like literally what makes the data engineer life terrible is when they inherit the freaking pipeline that has 30 trillion subqueries in it. And then they are, and then their job is quote unquote, make it better. And then you're like, wow, this is my life. And a lot of times that's what makes data engineers hate their lives. So use CTEs because it makes it so that when you write a pipeline, people can read it. One quote I want to leave y'all with here is code. When you write code, code is meant for humans to read and only on occasion for machines to run. So if you are writing code to try to be as performant as it possibly can for a machine to run, you are doing it wrong because that's not where the cost is. The cost is trying to update the code. The cost is trying to get a human to understand the code. That's where the real true cost is. So you want to make sure that you are writing code that is readable, and that's where CTEs are going to be a big win for that. So a common debate among the battling people of data engineers is when should you use a CTE versus a subquery versus a temporary table. These three are very interesting, and they all have their different ups and downs, and people actually have a lot of misconceptions about what these things do. A lot of people think that when you use the with keyword, it like stores the result of the CTE as a variable and it only executes the CTE once. And that's usually not the case. Usually, if you have a CTE that's referenced like 4 times in your query, it's going to be executed 4 times. Whereas temporary tables are what a lot of people think CTEs do, where like you define a temporary table, it executes the query once, and then you have that result, and then that result can be used in other places in your query. And that can be a very powerful way to build out stuff as well, because then you don't have to reuse a lot of that computation. I've definitely found temp tables to be very powerful. I think temp tables also aren't very good in a different vein. I've found when I have been writing my code and writing queries and stuff like that, like usually if I'm going to be writing a temp table, I should be writing a staging table. And that staging table actually sticks around, because temp tables usually they only stick around for the length of the entire query and then they disappear. And that's usually not very good, because sometimes you actually want that data. You want to be able to read the staging data and like actually use that data. So like I'm mostly against using temp tables. Like in the temp, if you're thinking about using a temp table to optimize performance, most of the time, especially in the data lake space, the better thing to do is to make a staging table and then have the pipeline read from that staging table, because then that staging table lives on. Maybe you just have the staging table and the retention isn't very high. You only hold on to maybe like a week of data, so that you aren't like burning a ton of extra storage for data that really is only used for the next step in the pipeline. But at the same time, like it's better than just like always throwing it away at the end of the query. I don't know. Like I've always found temp tables to be kind of crazy like that, especially given the fact that like nowadays it's a lot more compute, generally speaking, is more expensive than storage is. So if compute is more expensive than storage, like what are we doing like writing temp tables, like when like we can just have storage and use it and then not throw away it, and then maybe we need to rerun the pipeline if it fails or whatever, then like we can have it and then we can just have that staging data ready to go and it will be fast. So generally speaking, though, when we're talking about, so we're talking about CTEs here. So CTEs, generally speaking, behave a lot like subqueries. I treat them the same. It's like I think of a CTE as a readable version of a subquery, where like you have a subquery that does something, some sort of aggregation or join, but then you put it as CTE and now you have like a name for that aggregation or join. And that's literally like how I imagine CTEs to work. Obviously, for some database engines, it's a little bit different, but for most, that is how it works. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. So when should you use CTEs and when you shouldn't you use CTEs? Generally speaking, CTEs are meant to make your query more readable and maintainable. It's meant to make the humans that read and look at your pipeline, it's meant for them so that they can understand what the hell is going on with your pipeline. That is the number one thing, the number one benefit of using CTEs. And like, you shouldn't use CTEs to make your query more performant. There is some exceptions there. CTEs can oftentimes leverage predicate pushdown. And if you're using predicate pushdown with your CTE, then a lot of times if you do that first and then you do the join later, then you can actually get some performance benefits if you do your filtering inside your CTE and then you do the join later. That can be something that is oftentimes a way to increase performance. But that's not like the fundamental reason why you should be using CTEs is not that. The fundamental reason is you should be using CTEs to make your code more readable. And in that same vein, you need to be naming your CTEs like names that like aren't dumb, right? Don't call it X, don't call it I, don't call it temp or T or anything like that. Like give it a name that actually makes sense, right? And like, because I've seen so many people like they're like, oh, I have this nice CTE and I'm gonna call it X. And it's like, come on, bro, come on, you can do better than that. You were so on the right path, and then you just threw it all away. And that's not what I'm trying to have people do here, you know. So those are going to be the main differences. So for me, I guess the one thing I didn't cover here is like when should you use a subquery. My perspective is subqueries should almost never be used. There are some small exceptions. I think the small exceptions here are when you're doing what's called a scalar subquery, when you need to get like one number, right? When you're like, give me the average value or give me the like some sort of like, when you're getting just one number to like divide in your queries and stuff like that, then scalar subqueries are usually pretty good. But that's not a very common use case. besides that, subqueries shouldn't be used, with the exception of like if you're working with database systems like MySQL, where CTEs don't work with indexes the right way. Then in that case, you probably do want to leverage a subquery to actually run your code so that you can have a performant query. And a lot of times in those cases, if you're querying MySQL directly, you're caring quite a bit about the latency, because this is probably a query that's serving customers and it's not a query that's serving analysts. Because like, if you have a query that's serving a customer, it should return in milliseconds or definitely single digit seconds, if not milliseconds. Whereas like if you're serving an analyst, it can take minutes. Like it's fine. Like they don't care that much, right? It's like not as big of a deal for the analyst, because they understand that they're doing some big crunching of data. So like you can, in those cases, when response time is the most important, that's going to be something to also think about. So anyways, that is kind of my rundown of CTEs versus subqueries versus temp tables. We're going to be going over some of this stuff in more detail here in just a little bit. So yeah, let me go ahead and I'm going to do a little switch here. So if you see here, we have a classroom. So this like if you have an account at Data Expert, you should be able to go to this classroom here, which is found at /classroom/Zach Wilson. That's how you can get to this editor, and then you'll be able to run queries with me. So I'm going to try to I'm trying to make it so that the window is just the editor. So one second, let me pop this out a second, and then see if I can. I want to make it like a little bit smaller here, so we can have it be just the editor, because I mostly want y'all to be writing SQL with me. And there we go. Let's can we do this side by side? Okay, I think that's even better. One second, I'm a little blurry. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this, right? So you'll see here, if we are, we're gonna look at this table here. We're gonna be working with this today. We're gonna say Bootcamp NBA player seasons. This is exactly the table we're gonna be working with. So let's just run a query on this, because it's also, and you'll notice if you're in the classroom, every time I run a query, you'll get a notification about it. So then that's where you can copy the queries that way, right? And then that can be a great way for you to be a part of this, right? And be able to kind of stay along. So you'll see down here, we have all this like data about this. So in this case, our goal here is we're trying to look, we're just going to be looking at LeBron James's data real quick. So we're going to say where player name equals LeBron James. And you'll see in this case, we should get like, I don't know, something like 20 records back. And that should be pretty good, I'm hoping. So you'll see here's LeBron James, all of his data from his various seasons. So one of the goals here is we're trying to find consecutive. So the high level goal here is we want to find all of the NBA players, and we want to find who has had the most consecutive 20-point seasons. That's going to be our goal. And but we're gonna kind of go through this step by step, and hopefully we can solve this problem together. So let's just go ahead and we're only gonna query a couple columns here. We're gonna query player name, season, and points. These are gonna be the 3 columns that we really care about in today's session. Okay, one of the things you'll notice here is it's looking like LeBron has like pretty much always had 20-point seasons, which is great. That should make this easier. So this is where consecutive 20-point seasons, I'm just going to let y'all know this is actually a very complicated query to actually get this right. So one of the things we want to do is we're going to run lag. So lag is going to be a function here. Like we're going to use lag points 1. So this is going to give us the previous record. Remember, we need to do over here. And in this case, we're going to put partition by player name, because in this case, we care about our windows need to be cut up by player name, right? And then we want to say order by season. So then this is going to be as points last season. So now this should give us a pretty good example of, okay, there we go. And let's put an order by in here. Let's put order by season just to freaking make this a little bit nicer for us to kind of work on, right? So now, okay, there we go. So now all of the seasons are in order, and you can see like 20. And you see in 2003 when LeBron started playing. Remember how I was saying the previous season at the beginning of the window? If you're at the very beginning of the window, you get a null. So that is very common. That is super common. So now what we want to do, right, is this is getting us, we can kind of see how these are working pretty well, right? This is going to give us all of our, you can kind of see how, you see points last season. You see how this is like just that. You see how there's like this diagonal kind of behavior here. That is what lag is doing. I just want to show you and illustrate what lead does. So we're just going to copy this exact same function, except now we're going to call this lead, and we're going to do points next season, right? So now this should give us kind of a different sort of vibe. So now you'll see now this points next season is this guy. See how these line up, right? And then you have this diagonal behavior going down this way. So this is how we can understand like how to like this is the beginning to understand if a player has had 20 consecutive or if they have had a consecutive season of points, right? So this is nice, but one of the things that's hard with window functions is a lot of the time you need to use CTEs so that we can wrap this stuff around, right? So what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this lagged as. So then I'm going to wrap the entire thing in a CTE, and I'm going to say select star from lagged. And you'll see when we run this query, you'll see it's the same result, right? Because all we're doing is we're wrapping the result, like we're essentially making this its own little subquery, right? So now we have access to these values. So the main thing we want to see here is we want to add one more column. We're going to say case when points is greater than 20 or greater than or equal to 20 and points last season is greater than or equal to 20, then 0, else 1, and as this is going to be points stayed above 20. Yeah, or points change. Yeah, we'll call points stayed above 20. I'll explain what this is doing in just 1 second here. So you'll see in this case, you see how like it's just a bunch of zeros. So that means like every time there's a 1 here, that means that like it changed, right? The season changed. So that's going to give us access to our streaks. So this is going to give us our streak access, which is what we're kind of looking for, because we want to identify every streak based on. And the good thing with LeBron is that he's a very consistent player. Let me add another player in here. Let's add just so we can kind of have someone who also, so that this we're going to put in Allen Iverson as well, because I think he has a little bit more interesting data, right? Okay, does he also just have like every season above 20? Okay, no, he doesn't. So you see, okay, so you'll see, let's look at Allen Iverson here real quick, and you'll see, okay, so his very first season, it's right, and then he stays above 20, right? That's what all these zeros are doing. And then you'll see here, he actually transitions to being below 20 here in 2008. In his last 2 seasons, he dropped below 20 points per game. So that is kind of like, we can see that his he's not like LeBron, right? LeBron just is always above 20 like for his whole freaking career, which is so nuts. So anyways, let's go back to the first page here. And so now what we want to do is we're just going to actually create this as another CTE, just because I promise it's going to make this whole journey a lot better for us as we go through this. So We're going to call this one here. We're going to call this did change as, and then that's just going to be this guy. So now if we say select star from did change, we already know whether or not this changed. But we want to do another CTE or another, we're going to do a sum here. I promise this is going to make sense. We're going to say points stayed above 20. And then in this case, this is going to be a window function. We're going to call this over. And we're going to say partition by player name. We're going to say order by season. And in this case, we're going to say rows between. Okay, so in this case, the rows is going to be, we say unbounded preceding and current row. I'll explain why we do that, but this is actually, you know what's very interesting? I want to just show you guys something real quick. Is I'm going to put 2 of these here, and I'm actually going to not put the rows in here as well. We're just going to have these 2. I'm going to call this as streak identifier 2. We're going to call this as streak identifier 1. And we're going to see what the difference between these is, right? Because one of the things you might notice here is, let me just get rid of that guy. Okay, so now we have our streak identifier 1 and streak identifier 2. One of the things you might notice is these 2 are actually the same. So the thing is like when you're writing your SQL and you're writing the rows clause, so if you don't specify the rows clause, this is what it is. Right? It's between unbounded preceding. So it's like, give me all the rows before this row. Give me every row before this row based on this order by. Right? That is the default. So like if you put the rows here, you can, or you can just not put them there and it's like better. So for this example, I'm actually just going to stomp that and we are just going to call this, we're going to call this streak identifier. So now this is going to give us our streak identifier. I'm just going to run this query one more time here so you can kind of see what's going on. So you can see that like, okay, so one of the things you'll notice, okay, so we have Allen Iverson. So you see streak identifier here. This is going to be every time someone drops below 20, they're going to have a new streak, right? So you see here how this changes to a 2, but like it was a 1 before. You see how it's like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So these are all of these games that have a 1 here, all of these seasons that have a 1, these are all part of a streak. They're all consecutive, right? That's the key word to remember here is that these are consecutive values. And you can see 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, you see they are indeed consecutive. So, and you'll see for Allen Iverson, he has these 2 at the end here, which kind of go out the way, right? But now what we can do is I'm going to do one more CTE here just to kind of let y'all understand here. We're going to call this as identified because this CTE is essentially we are understanding where the streaks are happening. So now if we say select star from identified, but in this case we have player name. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say streak identifier. And then we're going to say count 1 as number of consecutive seasons, right? So, and then in this case, we need a group by player name streak identifier, right? So now this is going to give us a big old query. And in this case, you'll see we now have we now have a bunch of different seasons here. And one of the things that we want to do here is we actually don't want to count unless the points are above 20, right? So we want to say count case when points greater than or equal to 20, then 1 end. And this will be the number of consecutive seasons. And the other thing we want to do here is we want to put a max here. We're going to say max season as season end. And we want a min season as season start. This is going to show us exactly what players and like when they what was going on. So you'll see here's LeBron, right? And so you see here, like Allen Iverson has like this streak identifier too, but these don't even count because he didn't have the 20 points, right? So you'll see for LeBron, he has had 20 consecutive seasons where he's scored at least 20 points. And he started in 2003 and he's gone all the way to 2022. And he's going to 2023, he's going to do it again. He's going to be like, it's insane. LeBron James is like an insane player. So one of the things that is really cool about this is you can see all of the streaks, right, of different players. So what we can do, right, is if we get rid of this player name, watch what happens when we get rid of player name. So now this query is going to have a lot more data in it, right? This is going to have way more data. So, but we just need to order by something here, right? Let's we want to say order by what, 3 descending, because we want that third column here. We want that guy. So if we order by 3 descending, you'll see, okay, so now, okay, so here's LeBron James, right? Obviously 20 in a row, right? And you'll see season end, season start, and then you have Kevin Durant. And you'll see one of the things you might notice here is these are all the players who are really, really good, right? These are probably the famous players that you are kind of more familiar with. And so those are going to be the example here. So really, we don't need streak identifier here. I think we want to get rid of that column, but like, because that column is not really needed because it's like kind of, it makes this a little bit ugly. So then we can see, but what the, oh yeah, this is ordered by 2 now. It's ordered by 2 descending, not 3 descending. There we go. So now we have the consecutive seasons when they, the number of consecutive seasons, the season end, season start. One of the things that's really cool about this is we could even see things like, what about 30, right? What if we wanted to change this code and we wanted it to be 30? So let's just change the numbers here a little bit. Points greater than 30, points greater than 30, and then we want to put this as 30. So now this will be this will now be a query where we see consecutive 30-point seasons, and you'll see that it works really great. And you'll see there's actually not very many, right? Like we have like LeBron did it once, like Allen Iverson had back-to-back seasons of 30. You see, it's actually pretty rare. It's pretty rare for people. Kobe did it twice, 2005, 2006. That was like after Shaq left, right? He was actually like, he had to carry the team after that. And you'll see LeBron did it to 2022 and 2021. Joel Embiid, right? This new guy, he's been doing it the last 3 seasons. And I think he's going to do it again. He's going to do 4 in a row, which is so crazy to think about, like how he's going to just do 4 in a row of like 30-point seasons, which is a very, very, very difficult thing to do. So one of the things that I'm hoping y'all recognize here about this query that might kind of shake you a little bit is the fact that this query is one, it's pretty long, right? It's a pretty long query. But it's also very understandable, right? Because we don't need this lead, right? If we wanted to clean this up, we don't need that. And then we have the did change and then identified, which gives us our streak identifier. And then we have the final aggregation where we get the final values that you were expecting. So one of the things I wanted to show here is I'm currently working on, and I'm really close. I'll show you this. Like, so if we go to, okay, so see, I have this, who are the top 10 NBA players by consecutive 20-point seasons. So one of the things I wanted to do here is we essentially have that right here, almost, right? We almost have that query here. So let's run this query and see what happens, because I'm in this other URL here. You'll see like in here, you'll see, okay, we have columns at index 2 do not have the same name, value, number of consecutive seasons. Oh, they expect it to be called consecutive seasons. And we don't need the min and max for this query. They only want these 2. So, okay, there we go. So you see data length is different. Right answer has 14 rows. Your query has 1,000 rows. So because they only want the top 10, right? Not everybody. So, and you'll see we have everybody. Like you see how there's 100 pages of data here. So like and we're using 30. So let's go back and change this to 20 again, so we can actually have the right values here. So we have our 20-point seasons, and but we're gonna need to use rank here, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make one more CTE here. We're gonna call this aggregated as, and that's gonna be this guy. And then what we want to do is we want to do select star from aggregated. And then in this case, we want to add a rank function. So we're going to say, I'm going to use dense rank, and we'll go over like the difference between rank, dense rank, and row number. But we're going to use dense rank for this example. And then in this case, we're going to do a dense rank over. In this case, we don't partition by player name, right? But we're going to want to order by consecutive seasons descending, right? And this is going to be as rank. So I just want to show what this looks like so that y'all can understand what's going on here. Okay, so you see, here's LeBron James with his 1 and 2, 3, 4, da da da. And you'll see here's 2 people with a tie, right? So one of the things I wanted to go over with y'all is how does rank versus dense rank handle ties? So let's go ahead and call this dense rank so we can compare what the differences between these things is. So if we call this rank, and then we're just going to call one more here, we're going to call this row number. So these 3 functions do very, very similar things, but they are slightly different in the details. And like essentially, the one thing I want to talk about this real quick is if there are no ties. So if there are no ties in consecutive seasons, then these 3 functions actually return the exact same values. They're identical if there are no ties in the order by. But if there are ties in the order by, these actually do return different values. So let's go ahead and see what happens here as we kind of build this out. So one of the things you'll notice here is, okay, so here's rank, dense rank, and row number. So you see in this case, Allen Iverson and Dirk Nowitzki, they both have 12, which is a tie. So you see how like for dense rank, they both get 5. For rank, they both get 5. Row number never gives 2 values the same, ever. Right. And that's actually a nice thing about row number. Row number is the most useful for like deduplicating because you always get a unique value from row number every single time, which is really nice. So one of the things you'll notice is for the next player down. So you see Steph Curry here with 11. You see how he's got a 6 here. But then for dense rank, he gets a 6. But then for rank and row number, he gets a 7. So one of the things that like I'm generally not a fan of using rank. And the main reason I'm not a fan of using rank is because what if we wanted the 6th, right? If we wanted to be like where rank equals 6, well, in this case, the answer to that question is there would be no rank equals 6, right? That's just not in there, right? That's just not a value that you would expect. So that's where I'm like, of these 3, I'm a little bit partial towards dense rank, except for in the case when I'm doing deduplication, then I'll use row number. And I honestly, like, I never use rank, like freaking ever. I don't use rank. It's like strange how much I do not use rank. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep using dense rank here, and then we're gonna call this we're gonna make a new one here. We're gonna do one more CTE here and call this ranked as. And then if we just say select star from ranked where dense rank is less than or equal to 10, this I think is the right answer. Ooh, does it actually want rank? I think it does want rank. 1 second. Let's try rank here. I think is the actual answer here rank. Okay, there we go. So you see data mismatch with row 9. Value should be Anthony Davis, but value is Damian Lillard. So let's look at that. Like, so this is a 9, right? So the problem with that is you see Anthony Davis here. The problem with that is that like you'll see up here, it says sort the output data set by consecutive seasons descending and player name ascending. So in that case, what we want to do is in the order by here. We need to say order by consecutive or consecutive seasons descending player name. All right. And then if we run this, there we go. So see, now we got the correct answer. So this is the actual correct answer for this problem. And we can kind of walk through it. And like, so the reason why rank works here, even though I just went on a tirade against rank, is because of the fact that like these are like bronze, silver, gold kind of awarding medals to people, right? And so you'll see we still get 14 results even with rank because there is just so many ties. You see how many people have gotten 10? Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, freaking Shaq, Vince Carter, Russell, DeMar Rosen, they're all tied for 9th place, right? And so that's a very common thing that can happen with like rank, dense rank, row number. So anyways, one of the things that I'm working on right now is I'm actually working on a platform where you can run queries like this. And I'm going to be making very difficult SQL questions, just like this SQL question, where you can get immediate feedback about whether or not you did the right thing. And we're actually going to be going even a step further than that, because one of the things that's really cool about this, this is one of the things you can do is like, watch this. If I say create table and I say Zach Wilson dot answer, or we're going to say this NBA player consecutive answer. So this is going to be as. So one of the things that's really cool about my editor experience versus like other people's editor experience is in this editor experience, you can actually actually create data. So now you'll see I actually have this data set where I say select star from this data set, and then you'll see I have my answer here. Boom. But like it's off because when Trino writes, you still have to do like the order by consecutive seasons descending player name. And then you can actually fix this by like telling Iceberg how the sorting actually works. But what I'm trying to say here is my editor is going to be way different from like those editors in freaking LeetCode and other places, because we have like a way to persist data. So one of the things that's really cool about this is you can actually also understand how much space this is taking up, where you can then query dot files. So you can add little dot files in there, right? And then that will allow you to understand. See, so now this is my data set where I wrote to this. So you'll see my data set is a Parquet file at this S3 location. It's a Parquet file. It has 14 records. It's 897 bytes, right? And so one of the things that I'm trying to do to like build out this learning platform is I'm going to be creating a way for people to do data modeling, and then they can get immediate feedback on like the size and efficiency of their data modeling. Some of that stuff is not quite ready, but it will be ready in the next month or two so that y'all can understand and do data modeling better. So if you want to create tables, right, remember you have to use your schema. So you created a username when you joined, and that's going to be the schema that you have to create your tables with. That's the only place that you can insert and create and drop. You can insert, create, and drop. So you'll see, like, if I'm trying to be sneaky and I'm like, I want to just drop this table because like I hate this table and I hate Zach. You'll see it's like you can't do that. Right? It doesn't let you do that. So you want to be able to just like kind of work with that, right? Because that's like how we're kind of working with stuff. So the idea here is it's going to be really awesome, and I'm really excited to do this stuff. And I'm also really excited for the launch of the V4 Bootcamp. So sales actually just launched recently. So if you go, you can see you can go to enrollment here. And so here are the prices for the sales. So you have like the live data engineering bootcamp. So you can do the analytics or infrastructure track. It's going to be $1,650 to do those. You can do the self-paced, which gives you all the content. You just can't watch it live, and it's $1,700. You can buy the combined live bootcamp, which gives you access to live content. You get access to all the help sessions, everything. It's going to be the same price, except you see this $2,000 price. That's actually not what the price is. So if you, let me go back to just the query editor for a second. So if you use the coupon code EARLYBIRDV4, early bird V4. So early bird V4 is going to be how you can get into the boot camp and this is going to be 20% off. And this will get you 20% off. And so instead of being $2,000, it'll be like $1,600. Keeping in mind that this is you have to buy by February 9th, and there's only 50 of them, 50 of these. So like if you don't buy by February 9th, or if someone else uses one of the coupons before you, then you're out of luck. And that's just how many people I can bring in at the discounted rate. So I'm really excited to do that stuff with y'all. So what I want to do now is I actually want to take some time to answer some questions in terms of just taking some questions from the audience, because I have been not doing that at all. So, okay. So if we're here, like in here, y'all should be able to, okay. So I have some questions here. Oh yeah. So when is the bootcamp starting? The bootcamp is starting on May 6th. But like if you buy right now, you get immediate access to all of the content. You can learn. There's like 15 hours of data modeling content. There's a bunch of content on Spark, a bunch of content on Flink, right? All that kind of stuff. Please share this query. Yeah, I can definitely share all those queries. That will be all. This will be a free content with all the queries that I ran over this entire bootcamp. That's going to take about a day for me to get y'all access to that. But hopefully that will be able to be fine, and you'll be able to get through that. But I'm also running through any sort of questions that y'all have about anything. I mean, I got about 9-10 minutes here to answer any of y'all's questions. I'm really excited to just kind of like build with y'all. I'm gonna keep doing these weekly SQL trainings, and then I'm also gonna be offering this platform as a thing. So right now, this platform is free for everyone to access. And does the 20% code only apply to the course that's $2,000? No, you can apply the 20% off code to any of them if you want to get the other pieces. If you want the 1650 off, like you can get 20% off on any one of those, like, or the self-paced course. It applies to all of them, right? So yeah, for sure. Animal, you were not in the right place then. You did not go to Classroom Zach Wilson. You did not listen. So, but I will get you the queries, but you have to join dataexpert.io in order to get the notifications and to be in the right place. Hey, Caden, that's awesome that you're in Utah. I'm so happy. Like, I'm trying to do some more stuff. There's any placement assistance after the course. So if you put in the effort and you do the homework and you do all the homework and you do all the like you attend all the classes, we will match you with a mentor, and that mentor can help you like with interview prep and job placement. I'm hoping. I mean, I don't guarantee anything, because like I think that's a lot of boot camps try to do that and then they don't deliver. So I can't guarantee anything, but we've had a lot of people be pretty successful in getting raises and getting new jobs, and especially a lot of people have transitioned from like data analyst to data engineer through the boot camp. But yeah, for sure, that's another part of it. The mentor program is a very important part of the boot camp as well. So yeah, it should be pretty exciting. I'm really pumped. So Jared asked, when do you foresee your SQL platform questions going live? I think that like it's already in beta right now. I'm going to be actually showing it off in the next like probably 2-3 weeks, something like that, is when I will open up the beta to like everybody. And this stuff's going to be free for the next little while. What is the duration of the bootcamp? May 6th to June 14th. It's a 6-week program, right? Divya, is mentorship part of the bootcamp? It's part of the bootcamp if you get certified. So in order to get certified, you have to attend 75% of the lectures, or you can make it up. Like if you don't attend the lectures, you can make it up by watching the videos. So like you can also do that. But that's going to be one, is you need to make it up, and you have to do that. And then you have to submit the homework. If you do those two things, then you can get mentorship for free. You get like 6 hours, like 5 to 6 hours of mentorship for free at the end if you put in all the effort. So even that right there covers most of the cost of the boot camp, because most like the mentors we have are really solid. They're like big tech engineers. They are really awesome, and I'm really excited for y'all to meet them and have them have them teach you and learn from you as well. So yeah, it should be a pretty great time. Yeah, Eric, I'm so excited we're so excited for you to be there too. It's going to be a great time. I'm really excited to be having a couple months here to also be prepared so that we can have, because honestly, like the Spark and Flink weeks are still a little bit rough in terms of like the my teaching, and I know I'll have a couple months here to really refine and perfect that content, so we'll be able to have a really, really good kind of Spark and Flink experience as we go forward here. But yeah, I probably have enough time to probably take like 1 or 2 more questions if y'all have anything. What's the difference between data analyst and data engineer course? It's all the same, actually. Like it's but I have had a lot of data analysts take my course and get promoted. Right, that is one of the things that has happened. They get promoted, or they transition to data engineer, and they make more money that way. I do want to like, so we have data expert and data engineer. I'm still trying to like work on like what is what and how the branding works there, because I do want to open up this platform to not just data engineers. I want this platform to be accessible to machine learning engineers, analysts, data scientists, analytics engineers, everyone, right? So Abhishek, so if you buy the bootcamp right now, Abhishek, you do not lose, you don't have to wait until May. You get access to all of the old content, all the V3 content that I filmed in November and December. You get access to all of that immediately when you buy V4. So you can just do that, and you can buy. Yeah, and either way, like if you buy self-paced for $17.50, you can upgrade to the boot camp for the difference. So you can upgrade to the boot camp for $250. Like, and that's one way you can kind of test the waters if you want to test the waters with the content as well. And keeping in mind that like if you buy, you also get access to anything else I make over the next year, right? Do we have any platform to improve our SQL skills other than LeetCode? Raj, I'm building that platform. I just showed you a platform right now that we are working on right now. So, and it's going to be I'm going to be launching in beta in the next week or two. There's a lot of other choices out there too. There's like Analyst Builder. There's freaking Strata Scratch. There's so many other there's Data Lemur. The number of freaking platforms where you can write SQL in the browser is insanely high. So definitely check out a lot of those as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. How much do you go into Mage into the bootcamp? Seems like a great tool. About to use it for the Data Talk Zoom cap. We don't use Mage. We use Airflow in the bootcamp. The main reason for that is I teach the tools that are the most common in job descriptions. So I teach Spark, I teach Flink, I teach Airflow, I teach SQL, I teach Iceberg, right? How to check the syllabus. So the syllabus is just, if you go to dataexpert.io and you go to that front page, you'll be able to see most of it. Some of the syllabus is going to be changing. I'm still kind of working on stuff, and we'll be able to kind of go through there. Okay, so how long will I have access to the videos if I take the combined bootcamp? Everyone gets a year. You get access to it, and you don't just get access to the videos for that year. You also get access to any other videos that I make within that year. So you get both, right? Yeah, actually, we do cover Kafka. We have 4 hours of Kafka content. Kafka and Flink. Kafka and Flink are very close, right? Yeah. So enrollment will be capped, Jessica. Yes, we have a cap definitely on enrollment, especially on the discounts and everything. So remember, early bird V4. That's going to be probably one of your best chances of getting a discount, is being one of the first 50 people to use this discount code. And then it's 1,600. Is there any financial assistance? I already offered 20 people scholarships. And those people have already been picked. So we do offer that. I do offer PPP discounts to people who apply. But again, that's only going to be a small number of people. That's going to be probably 20 or 30 people as well. And 2,000 people apply. So 1%, there's a 1% chance you'll get that discount. Just to give you an idea. But yeah, I do offer that because I want to give back to the community, and I want to have like people from all around the world be a part of this bootcamp as well. And so definitely that's something to think about. I will be opening that stuff up later on at some point where we can get some people involved as well there, and that should be pretty good. So we'll be able to do that. Yeah, Divya, if you go to dataexpert.io, that's going to be where you can get the curricula for the most part. The only difference is I'm debating on putting like a machine learning feature engineering, like LLM week into the boot camp. And that would actually take out like the data maintenance and visualization week. Or I might add it. I might just add it and have it be 7 weeks. I'm still trying to decide on like what the right path forward there is, but one of those two things is going to happen. And I think we definitely need to cover more machine learning because the landscape is just changing out there. I want to expertise in data engineering area like AWS, Azure, Databricks, Google. Which one is the best to start? I'd go with Databricks or AWS. Probably Databricks because that's where you can just freaking go to town and learn Spark in 5 seconds, and like you don't have to set anything up, and it's just easy mode Spark. So that's where I would definitely start. Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of build this stuff out. I'm hoping to, I guess, other things. I have 4 months to kind of get that bootcamp ready to go, and I'm really hoping it's going to be really solid. The things that I want to add like a job board for people so that like I can sell access to this job board to people. So then recruiters can we can get a list of like high quality, like certified candidates. And then recruiters can get access to this list and then they can reach out to you for jobs, kind of like a specialized like data LinkedIn. Yeah. So Xenia, it's an upfront fee. So it's $2,000 to get into the boot camp, but you can get 20% off right here, and that will drop it to 1,600. I guess one of the other things I want to talk about here is the analytics and infrastructure tracks. So those are going to be that's essentially like taking half of the boot camp. So the analytics track meets twice a week, and the infrastructure track meets twice a week. And so you can get half of the boot camp for $1,650, or you can get the whole thing for $2,000. And like if you buy half of it, if you buy the analytics track and you want to upgrade later, that is totally acceptable as well. If you want to do that as well, yeah. So yeah, I think you should be able to. I guess I don't get why you're not able to enroll to the live bootcamp right now. It seems like that's something that should totally be possible. But anyways, everyone, that's yeah, Divya. Well, Divya, if you log out or you just go, like, you got to go to dataexpert.io. If you log out, it's kind of hard to see the curricula because it's on the sales page. If you log out and just go to dataexpert.io and you're not logged in, you'll see it. That's where you'll see the curricula. That's kind of where it is right now. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining my stream today. I really appreciate it. This content will definitely be on YouTube and everywhere and published. So definitely tell your friends about it. Thank you very much. I hope y'all have a fantastic time here.